Joining me now is Texas Congressman Troy Nehls and Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Both were sworn into office just days before January 6th. Congressman Nehls, you were famously photographed talking down a rioter at the window of the House chamber. There you are in blue. You were face-to-face with them, and you were originally appointed to the January 6th committee. So you watched tonight. What are your thoughts?
Well, Liz almost put me to sleep, but we knew this was going to take place. I watched the first 30, 40 minutes, and I can't tell you how many times she used Trump's name. She's not talking, and this committee has no intent to talk about why the Capitol Police was so ill-prepared to deal with that day. And they were. And the sad part about it is the intelligence was there. And I've been saying for the past 17, 18 months, when you look at the leadership team of the Capitol Police and the intelligence, it was glaring them in the face. We all knew that that the Capitol was the target. We all knew that there were white supremacist, malicious, extremist groups going to be there. We knew that there was a propensity for violence. We knew they were going to be armed. All the information was there in these intelligence assessments, and the leadership of the Capitol Police did nothing with it. But you have to know that the leadership of the Capitol Police answers to Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi. She runs the security apparatus around our nation's capital. They had all the intelligence. They didn't act upon it because, in my humble opinion, through my research, they wanted it to happen. They didn't care if this happened. You saw some of the video of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. The Capitol Police knew weeks in advance that they were going to be there.
So what do you? Okay, we get it.
The National Guard should have been there. Is my point.
So there was a lot of conversations out there. Some of them were dismissed by the left, that the administration had offered the National Guard to actually deploy before January 6th to protect the Capitol, and that was declined. Is that true or false, according to what you know?
There's a lot of finger pointing with the Capitol Police Board, which is the architect of the Capitol, the House Sergeant at Arms, and the Senate Sergeant at Arms. And they are the ones that would have to declare the emergency to get the National Guard there. And what I know is through my research is the House Sergeant at Arms, Irving, who's no longer there, he was waiting to get approval from leadership. The approval from leadership is Nancy Pelosi.
All right, Congressman Donalds, they aren't really just content to punish people who broke the law, or political opponents even for that matter, for what they perceive to be sins of the past, but ones they assure us are going to happen going forward. Watch.
Our work must do much more than just look backwards. Because of our democracy remains in danger, the conspiracy to thwart the will of the people is not over.
What does that mean, Congressman? So if they lose in the midterms, is that part of their erosion of democracy that they're worried about?
I believe so. Listen, I watched the entire 2 hours of this mess, and the reality is that all they're doing is trying to paint a new political narrative that voters need to think about in November, because the Democrat agenda has failed. We all know the reasons why. No need to recap. But to throw this out there, that there's somehow this danger to democracy that exists, is ludicrous. People are voting right now all across the country. There are no issues. Americans are letting their voices being heard at the ballot box in many cities and states across the country. There are no issues. I don't know what they're talking about except to cover up for their disastrous agenda that has hurt every aspect of American life.
Well, and Congressman Nehls, we kept hearing early on that a lot of these people who were arrested, were being kept in solitary confinement under pretty, terrible conditions. In many cases, not able to talk to their family members. Kept for months and months and months, pending, I guess, trial. What do we know of that tonight?
And I was told that these individuals here in the Washington, D.C. gulag would rather be transferred to Guantanamo Bay because they treat the terrorists better. That's what we do know. And it's interesting. I had a family from my district call me and said that her husband was arrested on Tuesday. The FBI barricaded the entire street. There were FBI agents in the backyard, had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old at home. And here the FBI is coming in there with their guns blazing. The FBI needs to tone it down a little bit. This is getting ridiculous, what we're seeing. And now this individual is being charged and he's being held. He's going to be now taken away from his family. He's been home for 18 months, 17 months. And now they're arresting him and keeping him away from his family. We're going to do everything we can to try to help this family.
All right, Congressman Donalds, I want to play another moment from the chairman, Benny Thompson.
I'm from a part of the country where people justify the actions of slavery, the Ku Klux Klan, and lynching. I'm reminded of that dark history as I hear voices today try and justify the actions of the insurrectionists on January 6, 2021.
Is equating January 6 and slavery, the KKK, even though some of these Proud Boys, I believe, were minorities themselves, right, including the leadership? Is this effective? I mean, I don't know where he was going with that.
It's just more gaslighting from Benny Thompson and from the left. Listen, everybody knows slavery was disastrous for the United States, but nobody's trying to equate that to January 6th, number one. And number two, every Republican who was in the Capitol building, we all did not agree with what happened on January 6th. We've all denounced the violence of January 6th. It is purely unacceptable. But the gaslighting from the Democrats remain when they try to find some way to salvage the fact that they don't know actually how to run a country like the United States of America, because their agenda is flawed, it's terrible, it doesn't help Americans try to actually live their lives today and going forward.
Now, Congressman Nehls, before we go, I want to remind everyone of the carnage that was unleashed, the chaos that was unleashed by the left, often to, no comment by Democrats on Capitol Hill back in 2020. More than 2,000 law enforcement officers were injured during the BLM riots, causing a record-setting $2 billion in damages nationwide. Congressman, did we ever have Democrat-led hearings on any of this?
Absolutely not. And why? Because it was Antifa and BLM. They're the ones that committed all these riots in the summer of 2020, destroying our buildings, killing people, killing lots of people, police officers, injuring public, just causing chaos around our entire country. But there was BLM and it was Antifa. So now they're going after some of these these groups that came up to Washington, D.C., that felt an election was stolen, and they voiced their concerns and their opinions. Yes, those that went into that Capitol and assaulted law enforcement should go to jail. I'm a lawman. You should go to jail because you shouldn't put your hands on any law enforcement. But you're not going to see the thousands of people that were up there and hundreds that were inside that building that were walking around doing absolutely nothing. And these individuals, their lives are being ruined by an FBI that is just doing horrible things to these people, by a DOJ, a corrupt FBI. Enough is enough.
Thank you, Congressman, both of you. Good to see you tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.